Yo, it's your boy JojoJovon. Thank you for tuning into the socially charged, debatable, and dope privilege show, episode 43. And today we are talking about celibacy, polyamory, and everything else under the sun. Last episode, episode 42, we talked about monogamy and some important factors of being monogamous. And so we didn't really get to dive into the celibacy and polyamory talk. So this episode, we have some very, very special guests, a lot of very special guests. And so starting with, in no specific order, we have director Brazil, who is not only a celebrity video director for some of today's hottest stars, but he is also the founder of Dance Tutorials TV. Check them out on Instagram with over 32,000 followers. You can find them online, take all of your dance classes, fitness needs, and all that from some of today's top choreographers. Thank you for joining, Brazil.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Next in line, we have Chakory Day, who is a writer known as a heart leader and love coach by most, and the author of Memoirs of a Sensual Man, which we talked about that title. We're going to dive into that a bit. Check him out on Instagram at Chakory Shine, Memoirs of a Sensual Man. That's a pretty defining title. So, yes. We have a very, very special guest, friend, and not ex-co-worker, but previous co-worker of mine, Khadijah Maulana. I'm pronouncing it correctly. She is a actor and human expert. So to hear that you're a human expert sounds pretty interesting. I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you today. Maria and Samuel Garcia is our married couple here that we have. They're a good friend couple of mine. We've been knowing each other for some years now. They have a beautiful set of kids, and I can go on and on and on about their journey. Very, very special and beautiful people. Excited to have them. Last, but definitely not least, we have celebrity choreographer Derrell Brown, who is from Chicago, Illinois, my hometown, our hometown. Shout out Chi-Town. Yes.
Hello, Chi-Town.
Yes, Chi-Town. And as always, two of the illest, dopest, craziest, funnest co-hosts that I wouldn't want to do this without, Isaac Hayes and Cecily Jamelia.
Hey.
Socially charged, debatable, and dope privilege show. Check us out every Monday, 8 a.m. on the House of Entertainment Network. Visual episodes and audio episodes coming to you, talking about some of today's hottest topics that a lot of other shows are not talking about. So let's jump straight into things. So since we have a full panel tonight, we are gonna just throw questions at you guys. I want to talk about three topics. We want to talk about three topics today: monogamy, polyamory, and then obviously being celibate. It's been in public news that Sierra and Russell Wilson have waited until they were married to engage in sexual relations. So let's kick this episode off with being celibate, or being celibate prior to marriage, or being celibate while you're finding your next fling or thing or whatever that may be. Celibacy, Khadijah, we talked a bit briefly before the show started to go live. We talked briefly about you being single. Our beautiful co-host Cecily Jamelia advised us last episode that she is on the market. So fellas out there, we said come correct, because she does have two privileged brothers who will get in that ass. Khadijah, celibacy in 2021, what does that look like for you, and why are you choosing celibacy right now?
Choosing celibacy, for me, it's not necessarily like choosing celibacy. For me, it's more so of wanting to experience it with somebody, with the right person. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of finding the right person at this point. It's not necessarily me specifically looking for celibacy or wanting to be celibate. It's just that I'd much prefer to give it to somebody that I enjoy spending my time with and enjoy their company and everything like that. And so until I find that, then I will remain celibate, I guess. It's that.
Good choice of words.
Great choice of words. Now, Cecily, last week or a previous couple of episodes, you were kind of sharing some of the same sentiments. Obviously, you feel the same way as Khadijah with 2021 being single, right?
Yeah, I've been in this place for a long time, and I really value my time. I guess as I get older, I'm more about that. I mean, I cut my hair so I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time on it. It means that much to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, I'm not trying to waste it. I'm not trying to just be in anything that's not meaningful. Everything I do is meaningful, so everything needs to match. So I feel what she's saying. It's right in line with my own philosophy. It would be awkward for me to be so purposeful in my life and then just be willy-nilly over here.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Celibacy, hot question, Sam and Maria. Were you guys celibate prior to getting married?
Yeah, we actually went a year after to go the extra mile for Jesus.
No, okay, wait. Right, I was gonna say, wait, because she was doing this early. She was going, no.
No, we were not.
Okay,
we were young, so we were, dumb, doing our dumb thing, but no, we weren't.
So let's talk about that a bit, because you guys happen to be one of my married couple friends that I really look up to. You guys motivate me in the sense of looking forward to marriage at some point in life. But what age? I know that your story started early.
That's a lot of pressure, bro.
Listen,
what was that question?
What age did you guys get married? Sorry.
So we were 18.
You were
18, 19.
So what made
he was 19, I was 18.
What made you decide to kind of just do it at that, like, at an early age? You didn't feel like they're
let's get to it. All right.
Yeah, the privileged people want us to get to it.
I'll just be super real about it. We were heavily influenced by church, and specifically my pastor at the time. And I was playing drums for the worship team, so it was kind of like there was logistics involved. Like, pastor felt like I needed to get it. I couldn't play on the worship team unless we got married.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing. That was the main. I could easily say that was we were heavily influenced at the time.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna speak on that one.
I had to, and thank you for sharing. Sorry, I had to take a sip. Thank you for sharing. Isaac, hold that thought, because we know what you do. Hold that thought.
No thoughts.
Yo, listen, you guys have 3 beautiful young boys, right? So I mean, you guys are proof that this whole thing can work, and marriage and things can work in 2021, in 2001, all that good stuff.
Being married at that age is very, very hard. I was married at 20. I got married at 20 and I was divorced by 25.
So, yeah, it has its challenges. I think what really helps us both is that we've known each other for quite 3 years before we got married. Wow. So I think the fact that we love each other so much and we truly fight hard for, our relationship. I think we had really went through a lot to get to where we're at now.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. And I think that's the thing that kind of,
we've had our rough patch.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, I don't want people to think that we've been married for a long time, that our marriage is perfect. It's not. It's had its ups and downs to get to where it's at now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think that's a lot of people's fear when they talk about getting married. And we don't want to crack open too much of the challenges and hardnesses specifically. But yeah, we will on a later episode, because, I have had family members who have gotten married and it's went well, and some haven't went so well. Anyway, Chakory Day, you are the author of The Memoirs of a Sensual Man. So
for sure.
You consider yourself a sensual man. Are you a celibate man? What's going on with you?
So the title of that book came out of my choice, right? So I was sitting one day and, I had just gotten out of a very long-standing relationship, and I made a choice, and I was thinking about being celibate, right? And I was like, okay, I think maybe I should be celibate right now. And, I'm doing research on celibacy, reading about it, watching YouTube videos. And in that moment, my spirit was like, this isn't for me. I'm the opposite of that. So my spiritual path has been a path of pleasure, completely diving into pleasure, whatever that means for me at the time,
I was gonna say it sounds fun from the way you're describing it. I could take it a few ways, but continue.
For sure. I mean, yeah. So I went with the opposite way of celibacy. I went that way for my personal growth and development, right? Through sex, intimacy, love, relationships. That has been my growth tool for so many years at this point. And so Memoirs of a Sensual Man came out of my different experiences, my relationships, significant relationships, not so significant relationships, but great stories to tell, you know? And it was just a complete, my sensuality, my sexuality, my spirituality are one and the same thing. And so for me, that was sensual, you know what I mean? Like it felt, when my spirituality and my sexuality come together, it's a very sensual feeling. So, you know, by going down that path of pleasure, recognizing that everyone I meet is a reflection of me, and using relationships as a tool of growth and not something like to just, I want to be in love, right? Because that my philosophy is that the purpose of relationships is to grow. So going from that angle, I've had so many different growth opportunities over the years. And I made that decision back in 2016. And, you know, I sit here.
And it's funny that you say that because I follow your journey over I would say some of your spiritual journey over social media. I thought there were very creative pictures and portraits that you would do of yourself in natural settings, and then you would share different scripts, or you know, you read different things that were motivating, or it would truly have people thinking about their sensuality, their spirituality, and things of that nature. And so, hearing that, there's a lot to unravel. And if you guys haven't already, please head over to his Instagram at Chakory Day and tap the link in the bio to order Memoirs of a Sensual Man. I personally have to purchase it myself and read it because it sounds like it's a lot. You know, with you talking, I'm curious to know how that openness and just being open and free sexually and not really having the thought of being celibate in your head, how that has made you grow to be the man you are today. Like, what were some of the things you did? Did you take more time to yourself? Did you shut off your phone? Did you take a break from social media? Like, what was the spiritual aspect of it?
You took more time in the bedroom.
Yeah, definitely. More time. Sex is spiritual. Sex is meditation if you know how to do it right. So
let me ask this. With that being said, and we're gonna hop to our next guest, and we'll circle back. But let me ask this. I've heard, and this is an open panel, I've heard that you learn yourself better, you know, through sorts of masturbation and things of that nature when you're talking about sexual experiences or spiritual sexual experiences versus with someone else. So is that
actually?
Well,
I actually kind of want to make an argument about like some of the things that you actually just said with regards to that. I agree with you. I think you can discover way more about yourself. However, I think that most people do the most growth and the most finding of themselves when they are alone, when they are by themselves, because you have nobody, no outside influences. You don't have anybody stuck in your head telling you what is or what is not. You only have you as your source. And so seeking outside validation and outside relationships only helps you grow a little bit. It only takes you to a certain point. Being by yourself is what helps you grow the most point. And that's when, once you know yourself, that's when you go out and you seek other people for relationships, because that's when you are able to have something to offer to somebody else.
You want to know what helped me grow?
I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. And I think there are multiple ways of growing. I agree with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways of growing. You can go on a mountaintop and meditate for 30 years and grow, or you can be in the city making money in corporate America growing, you know? So there's plenty of different ways to grow as a being. There's not just one path, you know?
I think there's something to be said about the polarity of growing from celibacy and then growing through your sexual self. I feel like I've experienced a little bit of both, and I don't feel like one I don't feel like one would have been as beneficial to myself without the other, because I felt like I've had times of being alone into myself where I was able to see and validate myself and realize my growth in my aloneness. But that was after sharing and being with other people. I think being just to yourself, without having shared experiences with other people, be it sexual, be it whatever capacity you interact with other people, you know, it drives, they both drive each other. I think someone who may be seeking love and has never lost their virginity, have never known their sensual self, could find themselves very lost in their celibacy, in their aloneness. And I also feel like someone who doesn't take the time for themselves after being maybe sexually free, to take a step back and learn from being alone, then that would be detrimental to them as well. So, I mean, my life experience with my celibate alone self, and I also can't identify with a sensual man. So I think they both feed into each other. And I think it's interesting that, and I don't want to ride the wave of a stereotype, but both of the women on the call seem to have leaned more towards growing more in a celibate, more alone space. And then
Actually, my argument for the whole thing is, I firmly believe that when it comes down to it, everybody in this entire world needs a season of monogamy, polygamy, and being single. I think in order to grow fully as a human being, you need to have all of them. Because I would argue with regards to polygamy, you going out there and doing your own thing and kind of just sleeping around is a form of polygamy. One of the gentlemen that I personally like to, I've just heard him in interviews as I've walked, like circled through or whatever, his name is Brother Polite. Brother Polite is a known polygamist. He talks about having 3 wives, which I totally respect. He seems to have his structure going on. I don't see a difference with what he's doing and what somebody like Future is doing, who has a bunch of baby mamas, you know what I mean? They're kind of structured. The only difference is one has commitment and structure and clear boundaries. Yeah. I think everybody needs to have those seasons in their lives. And I think that when you're looking for marriage, when you're looking for whatever, you just kind of have to find people in their right seasons.
That I align with. Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe. I was going to say that.
I totally agree. I think you can grow in relationships. I have grown in plenty of relationships of my own, but I think that you also need to sit down and be single somewhere. I think you also need to go out there and go get your needs fulfilled through several different manners.
Yes.
So I think you need it all.
Yeah, I think that if you go too far in either direction, you will become disconnected. And I think the exploration is fine, but you are, you know, when you are interacting with people, there is a mirror. There's some of it is you and some of it is them. And sometimes you get caught up and where you can't stand the quiet, where you can't stand not being stimulated, where you always are chasing the high. So it's nice to have the balance. And I think that you guys all put it perfectly. I don't think there's a wrong answer to this. Yeah. I think that's just being having a healthy balance and that being in line with whatever your goals are. If you're just going through life and not really asking yourself why you do things, or if you're waiting for things to happen, then you're not going to be very fulfilled. So it starts with what you want. So if that's, you know, so-and-so, then that's a win for the day.
Yeah.
If it's someone you could grow with, like this young couple right here, and they, you know, and how proud they are and how just the love that they have and how that's changed over the years, if that's a goal, then it takes certain steps and you're not going to get there doing the whirly-turly with everybody.
So great, very well put, Cecily, as often. Brazil. We have Director Brazil, you have shared with me, you know, you've been in various relationship statuses, poly, open, you know, single, all that good stuff. When you were in the open relationship status, the polyamory lifestyle, What was that like for you, and what made you want to explore that? A lot of couples consider that as cheating if they're not on the same page. So two questions. What made you move to that status in your life, that place in your life? And two, what was the experience like? Was it just what people consider as a whole phase, or were you just really trying to figure out, were you, because you know, they use that as like, oh, I'm poly, you know, and it's like people sleeping with the whole town, or were you just using that to say, you know what, let me just try to see what my life is going to be like tomorrow's not promised. So what was that like for you, and why did you choose that?
You're hilarious. So my exploration phase with that started about 3 years ago when I ended a relationship that was about 4 years long. It was a committed monogamous relationship, although we did experiment with trying to swing a couple times, but it didn't really work. The vibe didn't work. And I think at heart, I'm a romantic person. Like I love love. I love connecting with people. And I've been in relationships where I've been cheated on and it has hurt. And I have also been in some relationships where I was the one that cheated on somebody, where I made the mistake as well. So I've kind of been on both. And it didn't feel good to do that either, to hurt somebody, you know? Like it didn't feel nearly as cool as it came off in my head before I did it, right? So I've been in both. And I think at the end of my last long relationship, I felt very trapped. It wasn't the girl's fault. It was my fault for how I allowed the structure to evolve. And I felt like just caged in a lot of different ways, emotionally, sexually, financially, and it felt like we were married. It was a whole thing, you know? And that was right when I had my first really powerful psychedelic experience with mushrooms. And I had an experience with that where I talked to myself in the mirror, and it was the first time I told myself, I love you, like to myself. I never didn't like me, but it was the first time on mushrooms I looked at myself in the mirror and like looked into my soul and was like, I love you, and meant it, you know? And then I started to cry, and I was like, oh shit. I realized that I had been a people pleaser for most of my life. That for most of my life, I had wanted other people to, like everybody, we all want people to like us. It's not like that's a special thing, but I think I was always doing what I thought other people wanted in order to protect myself love-wise. You know, well, I think she wants this, so let me do this. I think this client wants this, so let me do that. And when I had this psychedelic experience, I realized that like, what I really need is to make myself happy and to be honest with myself about what I want. And then I realized that I didn't want to be in that relationship that I was in. And it was very, very hard for me to leave that relationship. And it has nothing to do with the girl. She's not a bad person. We just weren't right for each other. We weren't aligned, you know? So then at that moment, I decided just to live my truth and to not have to lie to any girl, you know? And I decided that I wasn't going to commit to anybody. I was going to focus on me, essentially, and just tell the truth no matter what, and see what happens. And it turns out that when I practice radical honesty, it creates a level of connection and trust that even if what they're hearing isn't what they want to hear, the fact that you're being so open and honest with them about it, it creates a scary sense of trust. And then
so I'm sorry, just while you're there before you continue. So is that as simple as a question as like, yo, I'm not trying to really marry you, let's just fuck? You know, what does that sound like? You know?
No, I like talking to people. I like energy exchanges. I like people that I'm a very creative person, so most people that I connect with are also creative in some sense. They have to be passionate about something in their life. So we usually align on that. And then sexual energy, like Chakory was saying, it's kind of like spiritual energy. It just arises naturally in the right state, in the right situation. So then I started dating a girl, and then I started dating another girl. And before you know it, I had 3 girlfriends who all knew about it. And sometimes we would all go out together. Sometimes we would all hang out, you know? And
there's my guy.
That's some pimp shit.
Well,
continue.
Well, it was never the intention. It just kind of stacked up that way, you know? I was just saying like, yo, for most of my life, I had been a people pleaser. And I've been the one saying like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What can I do for you? What do you want? That eventually I was like, fuck it, what do I want? And I just focused on just doing me and taking care of myself and my life and being the most honest, open, loving person I can be. And that ended up being a very attractive trait to have. So I ended up having multiple girlfriends and explored with that for quite a while. And then And then I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I want, what I don't want, why I think I want this, why I didn't. And then eventually what ended up happening was I fell in love with one of the girls that I was dating. And we built like a really, because it started out open. It started out like sometimes she would like watch me have sex with other girls. Like
let's take a pause. Let's take a pause and catch our. Let's take a pause and refresh. Let's take a pause because that's good. We're going to continue. Let's take a pause and refresh the room, right? So for everyone that's just joining, because we are live today on the episode 43 of the Privilege Show, we're talking about polyamory, lifestyle, monogamy, and everything else under the sun. So, yeah. Now, you were just stating that you fell in love with one of them.
Yes.
So while you were involved with the three of the women, they all knew about each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how was the experience like? Did you have your calendar set out, with different days of who?
Yeah, most times we would just kind of like rotate because we were all busy too. Like we all got other shit going on. Like they were all like creative people, so it's not like we had all the time in the world, but it was just more so like whenever you're available, come over kind of a thing. But it got pretty consistent, and sometimes we would all hang out together, just to for whatever.
So so tell me, Director Brazil, how did you feel when they were all there? You guys were all together. You had one coming, one leaving, different type of different days. Did you feel like the Hugh Hefner? You felt like Hugh Hefner at that time?
I genuinely liked all of them. Like we had real, like sometimes they'd come over and we would like write down our goals and do vision boards. It was like, it was a whole thing. Like we would help each other out in our careers and we would go on long walks and talk about life. We would meditate together.
And thanks for saying that. And sorry to interrupt. Thanks for saying that, because a lot of people think that living a polyamorous lifestyle only includes and involves sex and just, that type of thing. But this is one of my first time or second times hearing how productive it can be and how that type of lifestyle can help you get to your goals. Myself personally, I haven't been open to that lifestyle. I guess celebrities who have been alleged to live that lifestyle, we've heard about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett and a few others on the list, which again are alleged to have be living open relationships. But to me, it's always seemed like it's hard because I'm gonna be honest, I would be really upset if, okay, we all know about each other, but
I don't get picked in the end.
That's what I was about to say. You end up falling in love with somebody else, and then it's like, well, hey, But then on the same sentence, Derrell, that was a great interjection. I also understand that people are disappointed in relationships when they fail because they put so much ownership over a person or that type of thing. So that's where I'm at with that.
Everything is hard, right? Like getting married is hard, having a kid is hard. You could die of childbirth. Like everything is difficult. So I think you have to choose which difficulty you want and makes more sense for your story and where you are in life right now and yet in that chapter and that phase. Because it's also constantly changing. Like I don't think I'm gonna be anything forever. I just don't. Like right now. Me and my lady, we're not polyamorous anymore. We're almost effectively monogamous, but like we don't see anybody else, but we're open to doing things together now. Now we only do things if we do it together because of just where it led, right? Like it started polyamorous and then it was like an open relationship. And then it like, we just like monogamy was like the result of it, but we're still open to doing things. Like if the right person comes along, if we want to have a threesome or something like that, it happens, but we're not actively seeking it because it ended up this way. Like I don't like monogamy for me as a rule. I hate rules. So to say that you can never do this, if you do this thing, that equals bad, that equals pain, to me, in my life, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Because I think it's impossible to promise that you're not gonna find somebody else attractive for the rest of your life. For me, maybe it's because I saw my parents split up and maybe I'm trying to overcompensate, #therapy. But I feel like, for me, I'm a lover. I love love. And I love communication. I love trust. And I would never want to do anything to hurt the people that I love. So I'm more so of the mindset of abundance and of making it happen in a positive way. right? Like from at this point, I wouldn't hook up with anybody if it meant that it would make my girl upset, right? So now it's more so about us having a great sex life, and then if we want to bring somebody else in, that's a decision we make together at this point, because what we're building is something really solid. Like we're probably going to get married in the future, right? So we love exploring sexually, but we don't want to introduce a sense of uncertainty that would rock what we have.
Understood.
So we're a lot more selective now.
Understood.
You know?
And thank you for sharing that. That impacted me and definitely gives me more understanding, and I hope it gives our audience and guests as well more insight on the polyamorous lifestyle if you guys haven't tapped into it or if you plan on tapping into it. Isaac, our good brother and co-host, Isaac Hayes, shared last week that he is a supporter of the polyamorous lifestyle. So Isaac, I'm going to hit you with this question. Do you have orgies?
What's an orgy in your book?
2 or more.
Of what? Men mixed with women or women? I mean, because orgy is, I thought like
women. Well,
I thought orgies would have to be bigger than a foursome.
Okay.
That's a good freaking point. So it gotta be bigger than a foursome. Okay, so have you, as a polyamorous, so you agree you identify with polyamorous lifestyle, right?
No, I don't. I agree that
you said that last episode.
I agree that I like it. You know what I'm saying? That I'm not against it.
Clarity for our viewers and our listeners. Clarity, yes.
Right.
You like it, you don't live it.
If it worked out that way, I'd be all for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not against it at all. Do I believe in monogamy?
Yeah.
As much as I believe in a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? So, not very much.
So you have a very interesting stance on this. The orgy question is going to come up for someone else soon.
So the orgy question, I've had an orgy. I've had a few women at once, but you know what I mean? Who hasn't though? I think
you know,
I feel like most men that get what they want from an opposite sex or the same sex, whatever they do, it's kind of easy to have a threesome or a foursome. In my personal opinion.
You know, and you listen, brother Isaac, I'm not saying you're wrong. I've been just so busy and engulfed with work. I haven't had the time to, but any orgies or anything of that nature. But I will say this. I know that you and we've known each other for many years, creatively and in business. You've always been a very great friend, and the way that I've seen you in your relationships with women it seems like you're a great dude to them. You know, when you talk about you're not a supporter of monogamous relationships, and you're not in the polyamorous lane, what are you doing now? Is it just kind of dating just to see where things are gonna go, or?
You know what? Honestly, I'm dating only bisexual women at this point in time in my life.
Is that serious? I have to ask, is that serious? Because y'all know, if y'all don't know, Isaac Hayes is a comedian. Check him out on Instagram, uriel.isaac7. Is that serious, or are you lying?
I mean,
what is your point? Why only bisexual women at this point in life?
Because I personally believe, now for the married man on here, if you're holding the ball game, I don't know your life, but I don't think people are faithful. You know what I'm saying? I have a hard time believing that people are faithful to one woman or man physically for 30, 45, 50 years. You know what I mean? I feel like at some point, someone's going to step out. And if they don't, good for them. But for me, I don't want to risk that type of relationship to where it's like, oh, you stepped out, now I want to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? People die out here.
No.
So I'd rather be open-minded, and with a bisexual woman who likes women, we'll be okay. That's my life.
That does tend to make it easier.
This is you gotta direct Khadijah. I feel like I have to ask you before we start to wrap things up, because I feel like we didn't even touch the main things. But this is great. These are great stories. Sam, I feel like I have to ask you only because Isaac has stated that you've been married how many years now?
Gonna be 12.
12 years since you guys were 17 and 18 years old. to Isaac's rebuttal, is it the spiritual aspect and religion that has keeping you guys, or you specifically, I see, is it that is from straying away? Is that what's keeping it so strong? Do you feel that couples have to have, or married couples or couples in general have to have the spiritual aspect, praying every day, checking in every 2 hours, texting all day to not stray?
Like, if I were to put it on one thing, it would be honesty and being truly honest. I think what Oriel is referring to too is, I get what you're trying to say. Almost everybody will be unfaithful. I think specifically, you'll always have attraction to other people. Always. It doesn't matter how long I could appreciate a woman and her body. And I've had conversations with my wife where I tell her, you could be honest with me too. It would be, for one, it'd be a double standard if you can't share with me who you find attractive, and it's constraining, because truth is, it's part of every single human. We're all attracted to other people, and we're social animals. So, just naturally that's going to come up. So honestly, what's made our thing is just honesty. That's what's really made it.
And I feel like if you give people the opportunity to just be who to show up for you, they will. It's just about you taking the time and vetting who you're with and making sure you're putting the effort into that relationship, like making sure you're just constantly putting effort into it.
But don't you think that sexual piece is kind of like instinct, a human instinct type of thing? It's I kind of align with Uriel about it being almost impossible to limit or to think you can shut that off from somebody else.
That part.
But I think that's why you need to control. I think that's why you lean on the spiritual. Because the construct of marriage, that is going to come from a spiritual place, because you would want to lean on the spiritual situation to make it through. It is hard work, like they said, to remain monogamous, and to expect that of someone. You can, if you guys are equally yoked and you're on this spiritual journey together, to force yourself to stop these natural attractions to other people.
It's primal, right?
So I think it
I would
is.
love to chime in on that with what Derrell is saying.
Yeah.
Darryl.
Go ahead.
Darryl, I completely agree that we do have these instincts, right? We have these primal urges and needs. And one thing that I have found helpful in the last 6 months or so has been rechanneling it, right? Because especially once my lady and I decided to kind of not just leave it open to so many people, right? To focus more on each other, I still had the need of variety and that need of connection and energy exchange. So then what I did was I just put that towards my business, and the same amount of feeling and energy that I would get from, let's say, texting 3 different girls and seeing how that could lead to something. Now I text 3 different clients and see how that leads to a project, right? Yeah. And not to say that one can completely replace the other, but you can't just kill that part of you. I think every man still has that need to want to, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, conquer something, for lack of a better word, have that energy exchange, right? And I think learning to channel it is great, because it doesn't all have to manifest sexually, right? You could have friends, you could do it sexually. I have done it sexually, obviously, but it could also go work-wise. I think we like that feeling of seeing something we want and making it happen. It speaks to us. It feels good, like when you've had even if nothing happens, let's say if you're going out and you flirt with somebody, it can raise your energy in a cool vibration, and then you kind of feel lighter about yourself, and then you come home and you have more love to give to your husband or your wife or whatever, right? So I think we all have to understand that we have energies that need to be respected. We just got to find what's the healthy way to live this energy. Is it sexually?
I will say that, and I'll let you go, Chakory. My drink is kicking in at this point. But no, I was gonna say that piece, Brazil, that advice, I haven't heard that. I don't think ever, and I'm gonna just be honest with you guys before we go. I think that is one thing and one reason why people shun away from different lifestyles is because they don't have enough education on it, right? The way you just put it, it's simple. You know,
I think too, because
go ahead.
For the men I know, especially my friends that are in their 40s, that were the ladies' men that have the women wrapped around their finger. They got really good at hanging out with the ladies. They didn't get so good at the work. They were looking for fulfillment, and it was easier for them to seek prey and kill prey. You know what I mean? Than it was for them to focus on becoming the man they want to be. So a lot of times men do get that confused. They mix up that desire to conquer, to accomplish, and that sort of thing with that. And so I love that you say that, Brazil, because that's a lot of times that is just a desire just to be a human being and to something. So for anyone that's watching this, and if you are looking to settle down and you're paired up with a partner who's very good at that, but not so good at taking care of their business,
right?
That person is a suitable partner for you if that's where you're headed in life. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. I want to piggyback off of what both of you guys just said, because I think that for a lot of times when you talk about those men who are in their 40s, right? Like now, in the past, in the 20s, it's really challenging for a 20-something-year-old to be in monogamy. I personally don't think that monogamy is for young people, right? It's a mature decision that you have to make. Because it's something conscious that you have to do, because monogamy is it's a social thing. It's not a biological thing. Biologically, we humans, not just men, humans like sexual variety. It doesn't matter if it's 5 or 500, everyone's different, right? But on that social aspect where we are expected to be monogamous because that's what a mature person does for the betterment of themselves and their family. You know, like monogamy should definitely be a conscious decision that a mature person makes for their personal growth and development first and foremost. And you need that sometimes. You need to focus on the person so that you can build your money, build your career, build your family, have children to raise, we have things to do. And so everything isn't always about seeking pleasure or seeking fast gratification, right? It's a time and a place for everything. And I think that's really important, and understanding that the monogamous mindset, the reason we're even having this conversation now is because the monogamous mindset has to go. That has to go, not monogamy itself, but the mindset that I own a person.
Ownership. Do you say ownership? Okay. And you know, the married couple friends that I had, they did share that, you know, and that was something that I found interesting, was the ownership. And they put it, you know, I guess if the sex is good or if the finances are good, you start to automatically feel like, I own this. This is my dick. This is my, you know, my other, this is whatever it may be. You feel like it's yours, and technically it's not yours.
Wait, if they're married?
It's theirs.
No.
It's theirs.
No, I'm not going to do this with y'all. I'm going to get off because y'all messing with me.
It's theirs.
If they're married, then they own each other.
Now, I don't want to have you get off. I'm talking about.
Because all you young single people with your ideas and things like that, you know what I mean? This all sounds good. I remember this. But when you get on the other side of this, it's a different thing. And when you have a marriage, it's a business. Can you imagine? Everything is fused together. You mean to tell me that you're going to fuck it up? We got this time with these children.
That's good.
We have our goals. We have our retirement. Can you imagine running around 50, 60 years old trying to stick everybody? Come on now.
That's good,
this
Seth.
Is life. You guys are living in the moment. Yeah. Add 20 years, add 30 years, add 40 years. Y'all are not going to be swiping right. You're going to be tired as hell. Looking for that one girl that's going to sit there and be like, babe, remember when? Like back to Brazil. If you are lucky to have this woman in your life, you guys will have so many tales to tell each other and to think back on, but you're not gonna, you guys are not gonna be interested in this shit in the next 15, 20, 30. Let something crazy happen to the economy. Let something crazy happen in your family. This stuff right here is only important for right now. So the thing you don't want to mess up is you're doing this forever. And then at some point you're like, what happened in my life? What happened to the family that I wanted? What happened to that person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Something happens to your health. Who's going to take care of you? A, B, C, Thursday, Friday?
And
the girl you met 20 years ago, the boy
I'd like to bounce something back to you with two things. When we're saying that we're not being monogamous, that doesn't just mean we're fucking everybody. It doesn't just go from monogamy to everybody.
Wait. Don't get stuck on that. Don't get stuck on that.
I got you. I know that wasn't your point. I know that wasn't your point.
I'm 45.
And
I've been married, divorced, been in relation. I've done most of the things y'all have done. What I'm saying for you, and even for myself, is I have to think about the future, right?
Yeah.
And so and it's all aligned with your goals. So all I'm saying is that monogamy almost sounds like a bad word in this conversation, but it has a lot of benefits if it's something that if you're seeking a certain goal, this falls in line with it. So
I think Director Brazil is a shining example of what the life cycle and the seasons look like.
Let me finish my point, and then I'll be done with everything. Is when we attack it at the biological level, and we're not supposed to do this as human beings and stuff, and it's like, man, if I have a goal and I work towards it, who gives a fuck what you call it? Like, and that's the thing that gets me when I'm in these conversations and they're dominated by single people, and I'm looking at a shining example of what I'm assuming you guys are monogamous, and a young relationship that's worked and lasted. I'm actually saddened that we're not super excited and rallying behind these two people that have survived this. And I don't know where y'all live, but this shit don't happen in Los Angeles.
Right.
But to say that you survived it doesn't make it sound like
2021 is that we're gonna sit here and have this it's, I don't know. I'm gonna log off at this point. I think you guys are awesome, and I would love to have a show with a bunch of couples just like you guys.
Yeah.
In a world like this, that you guys can still find each other and still be smiling, laughing this whole time you guys are giggling and talking to each other. I'm like, that's the kind of love I want right there.
You know what? And I agree with you. No. I agree with you. I'm gonna let the couple speak. The Garcia speak. This is great conversation, and like I said, this is to open up socially charged perspectives, debatable perspectives, and dope perspectives. Like I said, I have never been one to be a part of the polyamorous lifestyle or open relationships, so I do support monogamy. I even opened up with you guys being a motivation to me as being a married couple. Is this room full of single people? Hell, I don't know. Brazil, you are in a relationship now. Chakory, what's your title? Are you single or what?
I've actually been solo poly for a couple years now, so I have a couple boyfriends.
And it's been working. Derrell, what's your status?
I am in a relationship.
Open relationship or
no? I don't do the openness. I understand that I kind of play devil's advocate a lot, and I do a lot of self-reflecting, but I've been single for 7 years, so I had my fun. I don't want to be balding and trying to get a boo. So I align with my girl right here when she's like, you're not going to be swiping right at 45. That's not going to be me. So, right. I do have a relationship, and it's committed. I don't want to share. I don't want to, and my goals are to build something with someone, and we can make life better for each other and, make each other grow. So I'm all for it. But I also understand the youth of wanting to be polygamous or needing to be polygamous or exploring polygamy. And I understand how the world is changing too. And so, marriage, that construct is falling, and it makes some people sad, and some people didn't grow up with it. I did not grow up with a mom and dad. I grew up in a single parent home. And so I didn't aspire to be married, but I always felt like a hopeless romantic. And so as of late, I have been feeling very lucky by someone. And so I don't want to ruin it, but
kudos.
I align with all of the squares on the screen.
Yeah, kudos. And I have to say, I don't, there is, like you said earlier, Cess, there is no right or wrong answer. I'm great and glad that we can all share our perspectives. Khadijah, single, correct?
I am single, but the pandemic really threw a wrench in my game, yo. Like that's the only reason why I feel like I'm still single is because of the pandemic. And I'm not like out and about and able to like do my thing. So like here we are.
You wait until the vaccination records come out, you know, till everybody got their things going on. I feel you.
I mean, until we out and about and not wearing masks, because I am still a little shallow. Like, let's be honest.
You want to see what the teeth. You want to see what the teeth in the grill looking like, right? I hear you. I hear you. I thought about that the other day. Like, it's gonna be a lot of rotten teeth when this thing is over.
Right.
Yo, Cecily, Isaac, my two favorite co-hosts, the show co-hosts. Thank you guys for sharing your perspective. The conversation going look like somebody got some action coming in. And on that note, we're probably going to continue this conversation. Brazil, I know you had something before we go. Feel free to take the floor.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on. It was so great chatting with everybody. I love all the different perspectives. And I just wanted to share a little revelation I had about polygamy or polyamory that I think might be different. And that is, I think that monogamy is the end result of polyamory. I think if you do polyamory well enough, it ends there, because it's kind of like, okay, what's more impressive when you like just for lack of a better example, if you're walking your dog. If your dog is walking next to you, but you got the leash super tight on him, and it keeps tugging to go everywhere, and you're like struggling to keep him on, what looks better, that, or if you're walking with your dog off leash and he's still walking right next to you, when he has the option to go, but he just chooses to be there, right? What built the relationship that I have now is the fact that we essentially had no leash, which means that if I knew that she could be with anybody, and she knew that I could be with anybody, it meant, why would we be mean to each other? Why don't we just be nice and not fight and just be very loving, right? And because she didn't make me be with her, I didn't make her be with me, we ended up loving each other so much that she's the only person I want to be with now, because by choice, not because it was made. It wasn't like, you can't be with anybody else. There would be so many times where she would be like, hey, you want to go hang with the other girls? And I'd be like, nah, I like you more. Like it meant something different. It's kind of like somebody doesn't get bonus points for being non-violent if they're incapable of being violent, right? Like Stephen Hawking can't get bonus points for being non-violent because he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't punch you if he wanted to, right? So I think the fact that I did go through polyamory and we technically still are open for potential things, right? I think that one doesn't cancel out the other, right? Like polyamory and open relationships isn't a walk away from love or commitment or trust or relationships or marriage or anything. I think it's a tool of living that you can use, right? It might be a way to bring people together or to explore who you really are. Because ultimately, if I'm not happy with her, if our sex isn't the best sex ever, then why are we even being together, right? So it's like, I'm not gonna like be unhappy with what we have and then go seek something better somewhere else. It's like, first and foremost is let's make what we have so amazing. And then if it happens to overflow, it overflows, right? But that's the primary thing. And I feel like people out that haven't tried it before, maybe don't consider it that way. That it doesn't mean that you don't want a committed relationship. I think it led me to my favorite relationship of all time. I'm in love with somebody who literally I feel like is perfect for me, but it took me going through polyamory to find that and to find myself, to show up as my best self, as my most masculine and feminine and all around expressive man that I could be. You know, it was a tool that led to love, not taking me away from it. That's it. That's all I wanted to share.
And thanks for sharing that perspective. Yo, before we bounce, my last question is not even a question. It should be a statement at this point. But I'll ask so because I'm considering it being everyone's points. Who can I ask this to before we go? Maria and Sam, the married couple, my married couple friends for 13 plus years. Is a polyamorous at this point, after hearing a few different perspectives, do you guys feel like polyamorous lifestyle is an excuse to just be a hoe and to have the hoe phase? And we're gonna bounce.
Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
Hoe phase. Polyamory, is it an excuse to cover up being a hoe? while you figure
Well, you
yourself
know
out.
you're gonna have some of those
No.
cases. You're gonna have cases of it all. You know, there's no one way of doing it. Like even I strongly believe there's gonna be some relationships where polyamory was part of it and it's going well. You know?
Yeah, and I asked that, and before we go, I asked that because people have associated that with that. Oh, you just want to go cheat and do what you want to do while we still together, have your cake and eat it too, more specifically.
And I don't doubt some people do that.
Is
So
the term we've heard over the years. Eat, have your cake and eat it too. So, I mean, you can call it have a cake and eat it too, polyamorous, a whole phase, bro before hoes, whatever you want to call it. I personally feel like polyamory is another word, and that's my opinion. Polyamory is another word for whole phase. And so with that being said, I'd be open to unraveling this more with my co-host, if you like, with my guest, with our special guest that we have, Director Brazil. Thank you for joining. Chakory Day in the building. Memoirs of a Sensual Man, available now, out now. Check his Instagram out, Chakory Day. Sam and Maria Garcia, married 13 plus years with 3 beautiful young sons. They letting y'all know that this love thing is real and it still exists 13 years later and 2021 on out. Derrell Brown, celebrity choreographer, also from my hometown of Chicago. We go way back, like throwback. Khadijah, thank you for joining. She is a single and optimistic female on the market for all you fellas out there. Hit her up. And as always, Cecily, Jamelia, Isaac Hayes. Check them out on Instagram, Cecily Jamelia TV on YouTube. And as always, thank you for staying tapped into the socially charged, debatable, and dope privilege show. Love y'all, and thank y'all for joining. Peace.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Isaac Hayes of The Privilege Show. Make sure y'all check us out every Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on househillmedia.com.
It's only entertainment.